Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking into the Miss Universe Zimbabwe competition that's coming up.
Right.
There's been some buzz around the guest of honor and the judges announced. We've got the news reports here. And our mission really is to unpack what these announcements might tell us about this year's event.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see the lineup, isn't it? It often gives clues about the direction or maybe the priorities for the pageant that year.
Okay, so first off, the big name is Connie Ferguson, South African TV icon. She's not just guest of honor, but also a guest judge. That feels pretty significant.
Oh, absolutely. Connie Ferguson brings, well, a huge amount of entertainment industry experience. That's presence, charisma.
She knows what works on screen, basically.
Exactly. She'll likely have a really keen eye for how contestants handle themselves, under pressure in the spotlight.
Makes sense. And then the rest of the panel, it's quite a mix. You've got Rosanna Hall, who was Miss Zimbabwe Diaspora 2017.
Oh.
George Noemwa, described as a Pan-African executive banker.
Interesting. Finance background.
Right. Then Brooke Jackson, who's the current Miss Universe Zimbabwe.
Of course, the reigning queen.
Paloma Manjuana, a luxury travel content creator. Single Makwanya, a former supermodel. And Zakawa. So, banker, model, content creator, previous winners. It's diverse.
It really is, that mix. It's just, they're not just ticking the beauty box. They seem to be looking at, well, business sense perhaps, global viewpoints, maybe even social media savvy with the content creator.
Yeah, a much broader perspective. The national director, Tendai Hunda, she mentioned the announcement timing was, typical for the industry. Apparently, they're doing a pre-show Friday night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, where the judges deliberate and pick their top 3. Those names only get announced at the main crowning on Saturday.
So building a bit of drama there.
Definitely adds some suspense, doesn't it? It makes the judging process itself more visible.
It does. It suggests a more thorough evaluation, maybe, not just based on the final night's performance.
Hunda also sounded very confident about the finalists, saying they're well-trained and the judges will have a hard time choosing.
Well, that's good to hear. Shows they've invested in preparing the contestants.
The main show itself is set for about 2 hours, and we've got Arthur Evans and Becky Kay, both well-known radio and TV people, co-facilitating.
Okay, experienced hosts.
Plus, music from Enzo, Ishall, and Tammy Moyo. Sounds like a proper production.
It does. Pulling out the stops.
Okay, let's talk about the finalists themselves. There are 9 women competing. Onesimo Nkomo, Samkeli Lamini, Charmaine Emmanuel, Chitsa Mosfa, Brenda Kadege, Rumbidzai Muzopa, Annie Grace Mutambu, Talik Magaiza, and Lishonda Moyo.
Right.
And what jumps out immediately, looking at the reports, is their backgrounds. It's not just models. We've got a town planner.
Wow, okay.
A healthcare professional, several businesswomen, entrepreneurs, fashion models too, of course, and even a purchasing management student.
That is a diverse group professionally.
Yeah.
It really mirrors the judging panel's diversity.
And that doesn't it? What do you think that signals?
Well, it strongly suggests the competition is valuing, a wider range of life experiences and skills. Maybe showing that Miss Universe Zimbabwe can be a professional, an entrepreneur, someone with technical skills, not just fitting one mold.
Moving beyond just the runway.
Yeah.
And there are familiar names too. Chitsa Mosfa. She was Miss World Zimbabwe back in 2017.
Right, I remember her.
And Annie Grace Mutambu, who was Miss Zimbabwe in 2015. So you've got pageant veterans alongside newcomers.
Yeah, that adds an interesting dynamic. Experience versus fresh faces. How will they compare?
We also learned a few personal things, like Chitsa Mosfa is married, Onesimo Nkomo is a mother from Bulawayo, and Lishonda Moyo is reportedly engaged.
Including those details. It makes them more relatable, perhaps.
Yeah, it kind of humanizes them beyond just being contestants, doesn't it? It shows different life stages.
Exactly. It moves away from maybe older pageant stereotypes and presents them as, well, real women with full lives.
So, circling back to Connie Ferguson for a sec. With her huge profile, what specific qualities do you reckon she'll be zeroing in on? Star power.
I'd imagine so. Stage presence, definitely. How articulate they are, how they connect. That it's factor that translates well on camera into a large audience. That's her world.
And with the whole diverse panel, the banker, the model, the content creator, how do you think that blend influences the final choice? It can't just be one thing they're looking for.
No, probably not. It suggests the winner will need to be quite multifaceted. Maybe someone who is articulate, intelligent, perhaps has some business savvy. Alongside the poise and presence, each judge brings their own lens.
So they'll need to impress on multiple fronts.
Seems likely. A well-rounded candidate would probably appeal across that diverse panel.
And that pre-show deliberation, narrowing it to 3, it really focuses the attention for Saturday night.
It does. It makes you wonder who made that initial cut and why. It draws you into their decision-making.
Okay, so summing up this deep dive, we've got a high-profile guest judge in Connie Ferguson, a really varied judging panel, and finalists from all sorts of professional backgrounds. It feels like it's shaping up to be a potentially quite different, maybe more modern competition.
I think so. It definitely points towards an evolution, perhaps reflecting broader changes in what Zimbabwe, and maybe pageantry globally, values in a representative.
Right. Which leads us to a final thought for you listening. When you see professionals, town planners, healthcare workers, entrepreneurs competing alongside models, judged by bankers and content creators, what does this tell you about how the idea of beauty and pageantry might be changing in Zimbabwe? What qualities, beyond the traditional ones, might make someone really stand out today? Something to ponder. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.